All right, Shalom, Israel, Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I would love to give our praise, our honor, and our glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rachakwadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who taught us this 100% truth. Shalom to the hopefully elect. Shalom to all the Akim, pushing truth and sincerity. Shalom to the sincere Aqua who may be out there watching and learning. So, brother, you call from the GMS Columbus, Ohio branch, coming again with another lesson through the Spirit. This is going to be a quick lesson. Um, and it's something that I've had to check myself as well, and that's just speaking too much, especially what I'm saying, when it comes to dealing with the Lord, when you're dealing with brothers, elders, it comes to a point where you gotta just sit back and be quiet, letting your words be few. Okay, because the more you speak and the more you putting yourself out there, you're being exposed. Okay, and you begin to be looked out in a manner, especially if the words that you're saying are not let's see how I want to put that, like the words that you're saying not amounting to anything, and that's one thing, with myself that I've learned over the years, you might have plans to do something, it might be in your heart to do something for yourself, what I'm saying, whether it be something that you wanted to work on, something that been putting together, business plans, whatever. The more you speak on it, what I'm saying, and then it don't come to pass, now you looking crazy because you spent all this time and you running your mouth to everybody like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and then come the next few months, you ain't did shit. So it comes a point where you just gotta slow down and stop speaking, and then many other matters too. But we'll get to that. But I'm gonna start here, what I'm saying, dealing with the Lord. When you come to the Lord, man, you got to be careful what you're saying. All right, and not saying too much, man. All right. Ultimately, you got to lead by action. Okay. But when you bring in matters to the Lord, man, be careful. Okay. And don't just be rambling, saying a bunch of stuff. All right, because now what you're doing is the Lord is going to hold you to something, all right, that you can't keep. So we got to be careful. All right. Ecclesiastes 5 verse 2 says, "Be not rash with thy mouth." And I want to get that definition real quick, Salakia, real quick.
Strong's H 926. Bahal, Bahal, and the form just below that, Bahail, Bahail.
It says to disturb, alarm, terrify, hurry, disturb, be anxious, be afraid, be hurried. Okay, come. So let's read this again. It says, "Be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thine heart be hasty to utter anything before the Most High." See, so think first, all right? You letting your mind and your words and everything get to you, you know what I'm saying? And you just get to running at the mouth, you know what I'm saying? Think before you speak, especially when it comes to the Lord, okay? It says, "For the Most High is in heaven, and thou upon earth. Therefore, let thy words be few." You see, and at the end of the day, the Lord understands everything. All right, so and you ain't gotta even, go in and say it, be saying a bunch of things. Just running your mouth. All right, let your words be few. You see, and I'm gonna get verse 3. It says, "For a dream cometh through the multitude of business, and a fool's voice is known by multitude of words." All that talking, man. You know. And like I said, and again, this is a video for myself as well, you know what I'm saying, which I've done better over the years, you know what I'm saying? But man, you all that talking, all right, especially, and matter of fact, let's pull my next preset. Um, let me see, Ecclesiastes 10. Go here, 10. Yeah, I'm gonna start at 11. But you know, when you're speaking, you know what I'm saying, you know, you're in the midst, you know, you're having counsel, whatever, it ain't much for you to even be saying. Really, you shouldn't be saying anything. When there are elder brothers speaking, brothers above you, all right, the next brother in general, there shouldn't be, you know, any words coming out your mouth, man. All right, because everybody, you know, what needs to be said will come out, all right, through the spirit. All right. But when you're in a certain position, man, it shouldn't even be so much you should even have to say. All right. Because a lot of times it's for you to just listen. All right. Observe, scope the scenery. Why is this conversation being had? Why are things being said? All right. Are these things directed towards me? And even if they're not directed towards you, you need to be taking heed and listening because through the spirit it may be for you. All right. Because you know you'll be in the midst of certain councils, you know what I'm saying, and you may it may not be directly towards you, all right, but whole time through the spirit it applies to you. So you should be few with your words and be listening and taking heed to whatever is being talked about, okay? That way you may grow and continue to be better. All right. But let me jump here. Ecclesiastes 10, I'm gonna start at 11. It says, surely the serpent will bite without enchantment, and a babbler is no better. Okay, what's a babbler? Let's get this over here real quick so we can get that definition. What the hell? So like I might have that one. Okay, a charmer. So like I'm trying to make sure I got that understanding correctly. Okay, right, yeah. A babbler is a person who talks excessively, foolishly, or reveals secrets. Okay, Con. Okay, now reading on to verse 12, it says, the words of a wise man's mouth are gracious, but the lips of a fool will swallow up himself. You see, because when you speaking a lot and doing all this and that, certain things that you didn't even want to come out will come out because you running your mouth too much. You know, and you thinking you making sense in your head, but then the shit comes out and now it's swallowing you up. You're being swallowed by your own words. You see? So be careful what you speak about, man. All right? Be careful what you speak about, man. And when you in the midst of elders, etc., hey man, you gotta be stout. All right. You gotta be, you know, locked in. You gotta be locked in when you're in the midst, you know, of elders. All right. And that's gonna lead me here. Uh we was doing Sirach 7. Yep. In verse 14, it says, use not many words in the multitude of elders, and make not much babbling when thou prayest. See, because at the end of the day, when you think about it, all right, these men, all right, that have been set up, they're in these positions for a reason. Okay, and what are they there for? They're there for us to learn from. Okay, So the things that they're teaching us and they're telling us should be taken heed to. They need to be taken heed to because it's from the Heavenly Father. You see? So when they're speaking and things are going on, we got to be quiet. All right. Let the matter come to a conclusion. All right. Because, like I said, if it's the Spirit, the Lord will give you access to speak. All right. In the midst of these conversations, these high level conversations, because they are very high level conversations. All right. If there's something on your mind that needs to be said, it's a time for that. All right. But all that cutting in, butting in, you know what I'm saying? Just to try and get your words off and thinking, oh, because you have a certain relationship with an elder or a brother, you know what I'm saying? You think you can just, nah, man, when this is a serious topic, man, hold your peace, man. All right. And it don't matter how cool or how close you become, all right, with a brother, all right, with an elder. It doesn't matter how close you become, man. When it's that time, you need to sit down and be quiet and listen. All right. Especially, what I'm saying, when it comes to Jake being in there drink, I've had run-ins with that, drinking and you thinking, you can, speak and say certain things, you know what I'm saying? And not trying to be disrespectful or nothing, but just being blabbering at the mouth. All right. And that'll get me to my last precept. Lord willing. Uh, Let me see. Sirach 20. Yep, in verse 5. It says, there is one that keepeth silence and is found wise. You see, when you think about that, man, them are honorable men. You sit back, you look around the room, you know what I'm saying, and brothers is just locked in. They ain't saying nothing, they locked in, they learning. All right. It shows like, hey man, this brother is soaking up this information. All right. Cause see, a lot of Jake, you know what I'm saying, we tend to have that thing in us like we gotta prove something in the manner of let me start saying this and this and that so I can be looked at as wise. It's not your time yet. You know, it ain't your time yet. Your time will come when it's time for you to show forth the knowledge that you obtained, that you acquired. All right. Show that through video. Show that through action. All right. Show that through your works. You see, you don't got to try and big up yourself in the midst. All right. Let your work show forth that you're learning, that you're growing in wisdom. All right. And then through the Spirit, be in a position to help bring up younger brothers. You know what I'm saying, etc. Okay. And then what it say? It says, and another by much babbling becometh hateful. You see, you talking too much, you always got something to say, and then, half the time you say something, it's not about nothing. All right. It's not about nothing. It becomes repetitive. You know what I'm saying? And then, what I'm saying, it comes to a point where it's like, oh man, what he about to say next? Oh man, here you go. You know what I'm saying? You don't want that, man. You don't want that, man. That's not a good look. All right. We are held to a higher standard than the rest of this place, man. All right. Like I said, it's all a check for me first and foremost. We are held to a higher standard, man. Okay. And when we come out on the highways and byways and we do our videos, we are a representation of the Lord. Okay. And we gotta take that seriously, man, and do our best to show forth the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that the Lord has graced us with. You see? So when it comes to, you and your speech, be as few as possible. All right. Get to the point. All right. And you know, be edifying, in your speech. Okay. There's a time and place for everything. It's a time when you can kick back and kick it in, chill and all that, you know, talk a little more, you know what I'm saying? But you gotta know your peers, know who you're around. All right. And that comes back to, just making sacrifices, anything, and all that. It ain't about how you feel and, all that, man. It's important for you to be in the midst of brothers, but, you got to accommodate for brothers, whatever that may mean. You know what I'm saying? And some brothers ain't trying to hear all that shit, whatever it may be, you know? So you might have to just, spectate a little bit, sit back a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Just chill out, weighty conversations, man. Chill out, relax. Let the matter conclude. All right. But that's it. We're willing as edifying. May give our praise, honor, and glory again unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Kakadash. The bond is again to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. We'll say Shalom and a Ball.